They offered us 7 p.m. this evening. We rejected that. I don't think after hours on a weekend is when we want to be there. We want to see what's going on. We want to see what the construction is like. So we've sent a note back through the Office of Management and Budget that we'd like to come next week. We'd like to come during the day. There's a group of us, not just us on the National Capital Planning Commission, but also OMB and a number of U.S. senators that have expressed interest in this project.
What are you looking for when you get there?
Number one, we want to know if what the Fed chair said was true. He said all of the design plans have changed from all of the features that have been much discussed in public, the gardens, the beehives, the VIP elevators, the water features. He said all of this has changed. We just want to know whether or not that's true. We want to see it for ourselves. And I'll also be asking for, which I have in front of the National Capital Planning Commission already, I would like all of the revised plans since 2021. I just got the binder in my office. I posted it online. Nothing's been submitted to the commission since 2021. And we just want to know either the plans changed or they didn't. He was very vague and short in the Senate Banking Committee, and we just want to know what the truth is. You've seen some members of Congress think he lied there. I think that's a knowable fact.
Do you have an update on when we might see another rescissions package transfer now that the first one is?
Probably soon.
Soon? Maybe a little more?
That's all I got for you right now.
What do you want to rescind?
I'll also leave that to Director Vogt to discuss with you.
Did you reschedule? You said 7 p.m. You rejected that. Do you have something on the books for next week?
For one, the president is hosting senators here for dinner at the White House tonight. I'll be attending that dinner, as will the senators that want to go, so it just doesn't work. Two, it's kind of a lame attempt at transparency, the sort of Friday night at 7 p.m., maybe we can squeeze you in. I mean, these are the Senate Banking Committee, one of their oversight bodies, National Capital Planning Commission, one of their oversight agencies on the building project, and obviously the Office of the Management and Budget.
It's a knowable fact if he lied or not. So if you do find out that you believe he lied, what is the White House or the administration's next move?
Obviously, that'll be up to the president if he chooses to exercise an action there. But more importantly, I think the question is, what do the governors think? There's the Board of Governors here, which the president has mentioned. They have a responsibility. It's not just the chair. There's a Board of Governors. They should hold him accountable, not only for the project, but his management of monetary policy. And I won't speak for what the outcomes will be, but I think certainly the U.S. Senate would be very, very concerned about that, as would the American public and the Board of Governors.
On future rescission efforts, I know you don't want to say the specific topics, but has a decision been made on what specifically you are going to pursue, just whether it's still up for debate or if it is a decision that's final?
Yeah, we've looked at a number of programs that we'd like to rescind. I don't know exactly what will be in the final package that we would send up next. We've got a number of items we're looking at, and also obviously talking to the senators too. They're going through the appropriations process. We want to know what's important to them, but you'll obviously see that very soon.
What are some of the things that you're looking at as part of the rescissions package?
Waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, everything that just doesn't comport with the president's agenda, that doesn't make sense, really just taxpayer waste. Obviously, DOGE did a lot of work. A lot of the work that DOGE did is the type of thing you would see reflected in the rescissions packages, which is what you saw earlier. And this is obviously a demand signal, not just of the administration, but that we're getting from Capitol Hill. There's a lot of interest on Capitol Hill of cutting waste, fraud, and abuse in the budget. So that's what we're focused on any way that we can. Again, I think when you're looking at the different things that DOGE has focused on or the administration has focused on, useless items for DEI, different things like that, grant programs that don't work, that would all fall in the category of waste, fraud, and abuse.
You're obviously going to need Democratic votes to move forward on appropriations and other kinds of spending bills, whether short-term or long-term, over the next 2 months. Doesn't these rescission packages complicate that? And what prevents lawmakers from just putting this money back in for the next fiscal year?
Obviously, lawmakers have their prerogative, and we'll work through that process, as we go. What's important is to focus on the win. We just did a rescissions package that hasn't been done in a really long time. It passed through both chambers. Obviously, there's not a good argument for keeping these programs, and I think it's really just indicative of the fact that there is room for more scrutiny and review of what has been appropriated.
So, sorry if you already addressed this, but can you talk about the site visit that the administration is planning to the Federal Reserve site and what you're seeking and when that will happen?
Yeah, I did address that at the beginning. They offered us 7 p.m. tonight. That doesn't work for a number of people, and it's also a lame attempt at transparency. We'd like to see it next week, and what we're really focused on is just getting our eyes on it. Again, the plans say one thing, The Fed chair says another about what the current plans are. We want to know what the truth is. I want a copy of the records that are in between those two things, which is what he said in his June 25th testimony in front of the Banking Committee and what was submitted to the National Capital Planning Commission back in 2021. We just want to know what the truth is. That's all we're asking for. And as I just mentioned over there, in the building plans themselves, which you can go see on the National Capital Planning Commission's website, they talk about the architecture of the building literally being a connection to the openness and transparency with which the organization intends to operate. They put that right in their design principles section. So if it is true that they want to operate with openness and transparency, there should be no reason not to let us in. I also want to emphasize what these costs actually look like. People say $2.5 billion. He says, well, we had to build underground. Well, we've had changes, all of these things. Well, if you look at today's dollars, the United States Capitol costs approximately $2.1 billion to build. It has underground tunnels. It has underground structures. It houses 5 times the staff. It has 5 times the square footage. And you saw Director Vogt put out that it's over $1,900 per square foot for the renovation. That's more than twice the average cost of a federal historic building's renovation. Of the square footage per employee, it's over 500 square feet per employee. That's like 3.5 times the average federal government employee's square footage per employee in buildings. So all of these things don't really add up. And he has said that this project has been managed tightly throughout the process. Well, that's not true. He's often referenced the Office of Inspector General that they've been reporting to. Back in March 2021, the Inspector General put out a report, and recommendation number 1 is the first thing you need is a project management policy. You have no policy with which to manage budgets, manage timelines, guidelines for how you're going to hold contractors accountable. There was just none of that. And of course, they responded and said, yeah, you're right, we'll work on that. That's basically what they said. But the idea that this has been tightly overseen since 2017 is just not true. The Inspector General themselves said it.
You were able to get through President Trump's enormous domestic policy agenda. There are still a lot of concerns from Republicans who believe that the American people aren't completely sold on it. What is the White House going to do to help these people ahead of the midterms sell this bill?
It's just about talking about what's in the bill, and what's in the bill is really popular. It's everything the president campaigned on. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime pay. Obviously, we have a historic amount of border resources. We've closed the border. I mean, literally 99% drop in border crossings. The border is actually under control. Golden Dome, all of these things that we ran on is just all that we have to tell the American people that it's done now. And what's really important is they're going to see it. They're going to see it in their tax returns, particularly with the tax cuts. All of these tax cuts are retroactive to 2025. So when they file their return in April of 2026, they're going to see that everything we promised we would do, we did.
Is Trump's political operation going to put money behind promoting the bill and trying to help these people?
I've seen the outside political operation put money behind it already. I wouldn't be surprised to see them do it in the future. Obviously, this is a very politically attuned president. This is a president that won every swing state. This is a president that won 80 million votes, the most votes of any Republican ever. This is a president that moved the majority of the counties in this country to the right. And by the way, that's still happening. I'll point out the state of Pennsylvania, right? 4 swing House districts there. Back in November, on election day, there was maybe 120, 130,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans in the state. That's been cut in half in the last 6 months. It's still trending in the Republicans' direction. You look at the generic ballot, it's running 4 or 5 points ahead for Republicans than it did at the same time in 2018 or 2022. So all the political winds are really blowing in favor of the Republicans.
Would all this be happening with the project if President Trump was happy with the monetary policy?
Again, a number of people have raised concerns about this project, including the Inspector General going back to 2021, including the Senate Banking Committee back in June. This is not just our opinion, this is the opinion of many looking at this. And again, the Office of Management and Budget said, well, why do you have all of these ballooning costs? 30% cost overrun. I mean, never mind the 2.5, it cost 1.7 to begin with. Now it's ballooned 30+% to 2.5, maybe headed to 3. They said, why is that? And he's basically said, well, the cost of labor went up, the cost of materials went up. Well, as the Fed chair, who is being roundly criticized for failing to effectively manage the economy, for being too late on managing inflation, for being too late to cut interest rates. I mean, why do materials and labor prices go up? From inflation.
It has nothing to do with the President Trump's disappointment with monetary policy?
I think you can separate whether or not the Fed chair is managing the economy effectively from whether or not he lied in front of the Senate Banking Committee about the plan revisions, which is what I'm focused on. But still, I do think there is a connection between whether or not you can manage the economy and monetary policy effectively and whether or not you can run a budget for a small project effectively. And you miss it by 30%. It's not a small number. It's not a rounding error. Again, why did the cost of materials and labor go up? Because of inflation. And he had no way to predict this. He had no way to get in front of this. What does that say about his ability to manage the economy? Both then, transitory inflation, and now, too late to cut the rates.
Shifting gears a little bit, Jordan Conrad's from you. What exactly has the president spoken to you and told you legislative work for illegal aliens?
I've not had a conversation with the president about any sort of immigration reform, if that's what you're referencing. The president is obviously the strongest Republican in history on immigration. He overwhelmingly won Hispanics as a result of those policies. He's enacting the mass deportation agenda he campaigned on. Every poll still shows that the majority of the country supports his immigration agenda. We've obviously effectively closed the border. Illegal crossings are to zero functionally. Releases into the interior are functionally to zero. We have saved like 5,000 children or more, I think, at last count. It's probably more than that, Sonny, that have been reunited with their families that the Biden administration lost. Nobody has done more to secure the country and rid the country of the problems related to illegal immigration than this president.
James, do you have anything on a supplemental budget request to, beef up Texas flood aid, the tranche of money there, or does the president think?
We'll have to see. It's very early in that process. We'll have to see what Texas thinks it needs and cross that bridge when we get to it. Obviously, it takes a while for meaningful damage assessments to come in situations like this. So I think we'll have to wait and see what the recovery looks like and what they think they need.
On politics, do you expect the president to weigh in and pick a candidate in any of the open Senate primaries anytime soon? And is he feeling pressure to get more involved in those races?
Well, I won't get ahead of the president, but look, him and the leader Thune have been very aligned. I expect them to be aligned. He worked closely with Steve Daines last cycle when he was in charge of the NRSC. I think that you will continue to see leader Thune, the president, and Speaker Johnson be very aligned on the political side as they are on the policy side and on Capitol Hill.
What concern would you say about Elon Musk and his third-party threat?
I don't know what to make of that. I don't know where that's going or if he'll follow through with that. And frankly, I'm not focused on it. I'm focused on the president and his agenda. I think that if Republicans enact the agenda that the president campaigned on, which basically, all the boxes are ticked on that as of the passing of the big, beautiful bill, I think voters will reward them for that. It's a novel concept to do what you campaigned on once you get in office. That's not that common, but it's what this president's done. It's what the Republicans on Capitol Hill done, and I think that'll inure to their benefit at the ballot box. One more and then I gotta go, sorry.
Do you have anything about the tariff for Europe?
Go ahead.
Anything about the European tariff? Any update that you can share with us?
I have nothing to update other than to say everybody is coming to the president and saying, what can we do to make a deal? Everybody wants access to the United States market, and we're collecting so much money in tariffs. The president was right. Again, no inflation. We had a surplus last month, $27 billion. Things are going really well.
So still 30%.
Dinner tonight, you're attending. Do you have any who's attending? Do you know who's attending and what will be discussed tonight? Senators?
It's just social. It's just a thank you to the Republican senators on Capitol Hill and many of their spouses that are attending. I don't think there's full attendance. Obviously, it's a weekend, but there's a robust attendance, and it's really just a thank you for working together to pass the great agenda. Last one.
Do you think Elon Musk should have, the federal government should have contracts with Elon Musk? Was reported to be these contracts.
I don't get into the procurement process. Obviously, that's an agency by agency thing, and you'd have to talk to them about what their procurement processes are.
One more for you. The president threatened to punish anybody who voted against the rescissions package. Does he plan to withhold political support for Susan Collins and think about her running for re-election?
I think the president would like to see everybody join in the great Republican victories that are going on, including the rescissions package. What's important is that it's passed. What's important as this president has passed every single thing so far. And credit to Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson. I remember back in November and December, everyone was saying, how are the Republicans going to pass any legislative agenda? Well, it's been the most extraordinary legislative agenda in Republican history, certainly, and probably in American history. I mean, not since at least Richard Nixon has there been as robust just a legislative agenda accomplished by Republicans, and certainly not in the first 6 months. Just this past week, rescissions, crypto, one of the two major pieces of crypto legislation. The president was just at a bill signing. People are happy. The price of Bitcoin's gone up 2x, I think, since the president was elected, and that's because people are betting on him to enact the agenda he campaighed on. All right, I got to go. Thank you.
Thank you.